resolution on achieving health targets and leaving no one behind. I will skip the preamble and just go straight to a reading of the actual resolution. The Parliament hereby resolves to 1. Advocate for the fulfillment of the Abuja Declaration targets and sustained investments in the health sector to achieve the AU Catalytic Framework, the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, AU Agenda 2063, the fast-track targets and the elimination of mother-to-child transmission of HIV/AIDS. 2. Underscore the urgency to mobilize national resources by front-loading investments, particularly in the health sector, and through innovative mechanisms, including national health insurance, tax and fiscal space, and corporate social responsibility. 3. Advocate for the training needs and sensitization of health professionals in addressing stigma and discrimination in health facilities towards people living with HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. 4. Support implementation of the Plan of Action of the Africa High-Level Parliamentary Meeting on achieving health targets and leaving no one behind. 5. Strengthen partnership with the AUC and UNAIDS in order to 1. Facilitate the collaboration and exchanges among regional and national parliamentary bodies with a view to enhance the capacity of parliamentarians to monitor all policy and program areas as well as the budgetary and legislative activities. 2. Promote a reporting mechanism through the annual conference of African speakers of national and regional parliaments on the health situation across the continent and the implementation of the Abuja Declaration. 3. Advocate for increased pledges from all donor countries during the 6th replenishment of the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria in 2019. 4. Support the participation of PAP parliamentarians in World Health Organization and other United Nations annual high-level meetings on HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. 5. Encourage African Union member states to establish mechanisms for the effective oversight and accountability of African governments in engaging between the executive and legislative branches of government and between parliaments and civil society on the HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria responses. Adopted at Midrand, South Africa, 17 May 2018. That is the first resolution, Honorable President.
Je soumets à la Chambre la résolution telle que délibérée, telle que lui parle au secrétaire général. Pas d'observation, pas de remarques à adopter. Monsieur le secrétaire général, la seconde résolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Resolution on nutrition and food systems in Africa. We, the Pan-African Parliament, hereby resolve to 1. Collaborate with AUC, NEPAD Agency, REX, and member states for the development and implementation of legal policies and instruments relating to nutrition and food systems. 2. Encourage AU member states to take effective measures to strengthen nutrition programs, policies, and initiatives in Africa. 3. Partner with the NEPAD Agency and the Food and Agriculture Organization to organize annual events during the PAP statutory meetings to sensitize parliamentarians on issues related to nutrition and food security. 4, encourage NEPAD agency and the Food and Agriculture Organization to provide technical and financial support to parliamentarians and their respective countries in implementing key nutrition activities. 5, monitor the effective implementation of priority nutrition and food security indicators stipulated in the SDGs, the Malabo Declaration, and other relevant commitments that address hunger and malnutrition in Africa. 6, share basic and important concepts on nutrition and food systems, nutrition programs, policies, and initiatives in Africa, and present global linkages and opportunities for improved nutrition and food systems. 7, advocate for structured, specific investments that remove barriers and make it possible for smallholder farming communities to participate in inclusive local food value chains. Adopted at Midrand, South Africa, 17th May 2018. That, honorable members, Mr. President, is the second resolution.
Y a-t-il d'observations ou de remarques? Il n'y en a pas. Il en est ainsi décidé, adopté. Monsieur le secrétaire général, je souhaiterais que dans le rapport d'activité qui va aller à l'Union africaine, que vous joignez toutes les résolutions que nous sommes en train de prendre maintenant. Dans le rapport d'activité à présenter au sommet, il faut joindre toutes les résolutions que nous sommes en train de prendre maintenant. Donc on va les envoyer au sommet. Donc quand vous avez établi le rapport, vous dites en cette session, voilà ce qu'on a pris comme réunion, on va faire les états. Vous avez la parole, monsieur le secrétaire général.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next resolution is on the African Continental Free Trade Area and the free movement of persons, right of residence, and right of establishment. The Pan-African Parliament resolves to 1, initiate advocacy activities to expedite the signature, ratification, domestication, and implementation of 1, the agreement establishing the African Continental Free Trade Area, and 2, the protocol to the treaty establishing the African Economic Community relating to the free movement of persons, right of residence, and right of establishment. 2, the Pan-African Parliament urges the members of PAP to popularize the AFCFTA to the members of their respective national parliaments and communities in order to promote national ownership of benefits of the AFCFTA and the Protocol on Free Movement of Persons in the socio-economic development of Africa. 3, the Pan-African Parliament resolves to work in collaboration with national parliaments and their members to urge their respective governments, where applicable, to sign, ratify, domesticate, and implement the AFCFTA and the Protocol on Free Movement of Persons. 4, the Pan-African Parliament resolves to regularly monitor progress on and encourage domestic parliamentary oversight over AU member states' signature, ratification, and implementation of the AFCFTA and the Protocol on Free Movement of Persons. 5, to work towards the harmonization of member states' laws, policies, and structures in order to facilitate the implementation of the AFCFTA and the Protocol on Free Movement of Persons. 6, to provide the Committee on Trade, Customs and Immigration with adequate support for its activities aimed at advancing regional and continental integration. Done at Midrand, South Africa, the 17th of May, 2018.
Y a-t-il adopté? Monsieur le secrétaire général.
The next resolution is on winning the fight against corruption, a sustainable path to Africa's transformation. The Pan-African Parliament hereby resolves to, 1, encourage the African Union member states to amend the AUC PCC into a living document whose relevance is felt by the African citizenry. 2, deploy its mandate to ensure universal ratification of the following African Union legal instruments. 1, African Union Convention on Preventing and Combating Corruption, 2003. 2, African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance, Addis Ababa, 2007. Protocol to the Constitutive Act of the African Union relating to the Pan-African Parliament, 2014, PAP Protocol. And 4, Protocol on amendments to the Protocol on the Statute of the African Court of Justice and Human Rights, Malabo 2014. 3, the Pan-African Parliament resolves to request from the African Union additional financial and technical support to ensure that campaigns for fast-tracking the ratification and domestication of the above-mentioned treaties is done. 4, the Pan-African Parliament resolves to support the AUABC to deploy its mandate in combating corruption in Africa and continue to advocate for the mandate of the board to be strengthened as stipulated in the various African Union decisions. 5, the Pan-African Parliament resolves to encourage national parliaments to effectively monitor the nomination process of the AUABC members by ensuring that nominees fulfill requirements of integrity, credibility, and competence in the subject matter of combating corruption in Africa. 6, continue to advocate for the strengthening of the mandate of the AUABC as stipulated in the various AU decisions, and to strengthen collaboration with the AUABC for an effective exercise of its mandate in combating corruption in Africa. 7, support the role of African Parliamentary Network Against Corruption, APNAC, in elevating and promoting the culture of transparency, of probity, and of accountability by engaging with the multi-sectoral working group on combating corruption at national, regional, and continental levels. Midrand, South Africa, 17 May 2018.
Adopté.
The next resolution, honorable members, is on persons with albinism in Africa. The Pan-African Parliament hereby resolves, 1, to strongly condemn the continuing incidences of attacks and other human rights violations, including killings, mutilations, ritual rape, and grave robberies against persons with albinism on the continent. 2, to endorse the Regional Action Plan on Albinism in Africa, 2017 to 2021. which lays out specific measures for addressing attacks and discrimination against persons with albinism through prevention, protection, accountability, as well as equality and non-discrimination measures. 3, to urge the African Union member states to review, reform, or abolish, where necessary, existing legislation, policies, and practices that do not comply with international and regional human rights standards, or do not effectively protect the human rights of persons with albinism. 4, to call on the African Union member states to take all measures necessary to adopt and implement the Regional Action Plan and to ensure the effective protection and promotion of the rights of persons with albinism and members of their families. 5, to urge the organs of the Pan-African Parliament to give due regard to the Regional Action Plan within their mandates. 6, to encourage state parties to ratify and ensure the effective implementation of the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights on the rights of persons with disabilities in Africa and other relevant protocols. 7, to take effective steps in promoting regional cooperation for the prevention, detection, investigation, prosecution, and punishment of cross-border crimes affecting persons with albinism, notably trafficking of persons, children, and body parts. 8, working in collaboration with civil society and other interested partners to demystify albinism, including through awareness-raising campaigns across the 5 regions of Africa: Midrand, South Africa, 17 May 2018.
Clerk, you have the floor.
The next resolution, honorable members, is on the establishment of the Pan-African Parliament Desk on Climate Change. The Pan-African Parliament hereby resolves: 1, the PAP Desk on Climate Change is hereby established. 2, the PAP Desk on Climate Change shall provide technical support to member states and serve as a center for monitoring, evaluating, and networking on climate change activities and issues at the national, regional, continental, and international levels. 3, the PAP Desk on Climate Change shall also take the responsibility for planning, coordination, and participation of the PAP at the COPs. 4, the Clerk of the Pan-African Parliament, in consultation with the Bureau of the Committee on Rural Economy, Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Environment, shall select members of the Climate Change Desk. Midrand, South Africa, 17 May 2018. The next resolution is for holding the first ordinary session of the Pan-African Parliament in a member state. The Pan-African Parliament, considering Article 3 of the Protocol to the Treaty establishing the African Economic Community relating to the Pan-African Parliament, which stipulates that the Pan-African Parliament shall accomplish inter alia the effective implementation of the policies and objectives of the African Union. recalling Rule 34 of the same rules of procedure, which stipulates that the Parliament shall hold its sittings and those of its committees at its seat or at such other venue as may be determined by the Bureau upon the invitation of a member state. In accordance with Rule 5D, which stipulates that the Pan-African Parliament shall have the power to make recommendations and take resolutions on any matters relating to the African Union and its organs, regional economic communities and their respective organs, member states and their organs and institutions, convinced that holding of the session in another African state shall effectively contribute to bring the Pan-African Parliament closer to the peoples of Africa and increase its visibility, decides to hold its first ordinary session of the 5th Parliament in Kigali, Rwanda, in October 2018. The last draft resolution before you, honorable members, is on the constitution of an ad hoc committee on the reforms of the African Union. Considering that the African Union is undergoing a process of strengthening its organs through an institutional reform process, the President of the Pan-African Parliament announced in the House the need for the House to constitute an ad hoc committee on AU reforms. The House, therefore, constituted the ad hoc committee comprising the following members to prepare a comprehensive document covering the areas that require reforms in the Pan-African Parliament for submission to the African Union. The members are as follows. From the Northern Africa region, Honorable Said Brahim Said of the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic. Honorable May Mahmoud Ibrahim of Egypt. From the Western Africa region, Honorable Sidia S. Jata from the Gambia, and Honorable Rwamba Wokia from Burkina Faso. From the Central Africa region, Honorable Evangelina Oyo Ebule from Guinea-Conakry, beg your pardon, Guinea Equatorial, and Honorable Salemaki Mahamat from the Eastern Africa region, Honorable Professor Maurice Wodamida Ongenga Latigo of Uganda, and Honorable Senator Jacqueline Mohongahire. From the Southern Africa region, Honorable Santosh Vinita Kalyan and Honorable Chief Fortune Charumbira. The ad hoc committee is mandated to meet and come up with issues for the reform of the Pan-African Parliament, dated 17 May 2018.
Y a-t-il d'observations? La mission a été bien définie pour ce comité. Nous attendons les réformes dans tous les domaines de notre Parlement, pas seulement politique, adoptées.
Excusez-moi.
Recommandation? Monsieur le secrétaire général.
Motion, s'il vous plaît.
Oui.
Excusez-moi, Monsieur le Président. Chers collègues, je viens d'entendre la liste qui a été proposée comme devant être les membres de la commission ad hoc pour la réforme des chartes qu'on vient d'évoquer. Je voudrais juste attirer votre attention que j'avais bien émis le vœu de faire partie de cette commission en faisant cas au président de notre caucus. Moi, c'est M. Djibilouar du caucus de l'Afrique de l'Ouest et la délégation sénégalaise. Merci.
Le comité pour la réforme, mais le comité de révision de notre règlement intérieur n'a pas encore été mis en place. Et je crois que c'est là où Maître War sera important. Et peut-être c'est là que le caucus l'a placé, je suppose.
Président?
Oui.
Oui, merci, Président. Si tel était le cas, je crois donc que je ne pourrais donc que m'en remettre à ce que vous venez de dire en vous remerciant.
D'accord. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Président.
Yes?
Thank you, President. Maybe to ensure that we also try and address the matter that has been raised by the honourable member, we can suggest that regions can have alternates so that it could assist where members maybe may not be all available, but some of the members can be alternate members. Thank you.
Yeah, ouais. Merci beaucoup. Chaque région va donc désigner un suppléant dans sa commission. En cas d'empêchement de titulaire, le suppléant le second. Je crois que c'est mieux comme ça. Madame Élise, ça règle le problème de ceux qui peuvent être absents, parce que ce comité doit travailler. Il ne faut pas qu'on nous dise le quorum n'a pas été atteint, ceci, cela. Il faut que les gens soient prêts à travailler. Et tous, on va faire une alternance. Maître Ouad Djibril, il peut donc être, je suppose, si vous ne trouvez pas d'inconvénient, que chaque caucus désigne un suppléant pour qu'on n'ait pas de problème de quorum. Et suivant les qualifications des uns et des autres, je crois que Maître Ouad peut bien être fait partie de ça. Le caucus va se réunir et va désigner les suppléants. Je ne veux pas prendre les devants. It's okay. Clerk, we need oui.
Hier, en nous donnant l'information, vous avez misé sur l'urgence de la question et des propositions à faire. C'est pour cela que, selon les compétences des uns et des autres, nous avons désigné. Et le SG nous avait également dit que la réunion commençait demain. Donc, c'est pour ceux qui sont présents et ceux qui ont les compétences nécessaires. Nous, on a choisi cela parce qu'il y a un des membres qui n'est pas là. Evangelina, tout à l'heure, c'est une incompréhension. Evangelina revient sur sa décision. Elle va représenter le caucus au niveau de la commission ad hoc avec un de nos membres qui est déjà vice-président de la commission règlement. Donc, ça, les Mamat Maki. Mais pour les suppléants, bon, on va se mettre tout à l'heure encore.
En correction pour garder en cas de. Je crois qu'il n'y a pas de. Il n'y a pas de problème à cela.
D'accord.
Les intéressés auront droit aux avantages de toute nature prévus par la réglementation. Oui, M. Clark, it's okay. It's okay. Nous adoptons notre résolution moyennant l'amendement introduit par l'honorable collègue de l'Afrique du Sud de désigner les suppléants. Adopté. Recommandation.
Honorable members, I would like to read out the following two recommendations. The first recommendation is on the information and communication technologies, ICT sector in Africa. The Pan-African Parliament hereby recommends, 1, that the African Union member states should, 1, urgently sign, ratify, and domesticate the African Union Convention on Cybersecurity and Personal Data Protection, adopted in June 2014. 2, build an information society that respects values, rights, and freedoms and guarantees equal access to information while encouraging the creation of authentic knowledge which can build confidence and trust in the use of ICTs in Africa. 3, put in place necessary policy, legal, and regulatory mechanisms to control cybercriminality and information technology development. 5, establish an ecosystem for national computer emergency readiness and response teams to promote national synergy on cybersecurity, knowledge sharing, and intelligence gathering on actions taken by cyber criminals to counteract preventive efforts by governments and individuals. 6, set up effective mechanisms and strategies for reporting cybercrime to ensure adequate protection and assistance to cyber victims and witnesses. As part of the broader cybersecurity strategy, call centers should be established and staffed by sufficiently trained and knowledgeable personnel and be equipped with a website and a toll-free number for easy reporting of cybercrime incidents by victims and witnesses. 2, regional economic communities should, 1, maintain the momentum in the implementation Looks like my time has run out. Regional economic communities should, 1, maintain the momentum in the implementation of various ICT projects, 2, promote and support the development of continental and regional ICT strategies to pave way for development of national strategies. Midrand, South Africa, 17 May 2018.
La deuxième recommandation.
The second recommendation is on the rights of older persons in Africa. The Pan-African Parliament hereby recommends, 1, the African Union member states to ratify the protocol to the African Charter on Human and People's Rights relating to the rights of older persons and guarantee protection for older persons with disabilities, including access to specialized care and assistive devices, as well as universal product design to ensure inclusivity. 2, the African Union member states to support the work of the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, in particular its working group on the rights of older persons and people with disabilities. 3, the African Union member states to adopt a gender perspective on policy and planning processes at all levels, taking account of intersecting forms of discrimination that affect older women, including ageism, sexism, disability, and the rural-urban divide. Four, the African Union member states to prevent, punish, and eradicate all forms of violence against older persons, and reject and eradicate all harmful cultural practices that cause ill treatment and abuse of older persons in the public and private spheres. 5, the African Union member states to adopt universal social pension schemes that benefit retirees and older persons who do not have the opportunity to contribute to social security provisions. The African Union member states to design and implement comprehensive health care policies for older persons including sexual and reproductive health care, and facilitate access to health services and medical insurance cover within available resources. The African Union member states to prioritize preferential assistance for older persons in natural disasters and conflict situations, including civil strife or wars. 7, the African Union member states to adopt measures to ensure that older persons who take care of orphans and vulnerable children are provided with financial, material, and other support, including social or other benefits designed for children. 8, the African Union member states to ensure the participation of older persons in making decisions about their own well-being and to guarantee their involvement in social and political life by facilitating training and education programs for older persons, including information, communications, and technology skills in rural areas. 9, the African Union member states to engage with the media, civil society organizations, and academic institutions in raising awareness to change negative attitudes and promote positive images of older persons and promote volunteering opportunities for young people to interact, engage, and support older persons in the family, the workplace, and society at large. Midrand, South Africa, 17 May 2018.
Mr. Clerk.
The last presentation to you, honorable members, is a declaration on Palestine. The Pan-African Parliament, 1, takes note with deep concern of the situation in Palestine. 2, supports the declaration of the African Union chairperson on the current situation on Palestine, done at Midrand, 17 May 2018. Thank you, honorable members.